Some roads on Earth aren't built for travel, but serve as a life or death test for any driver. Do you dare to wrestle the wheel through the insane Black Dragon, where 600 hairpin turns tear through the Pamir Mountains? Or face the road of death, where your tires are separated from a bottomless abyss by just a few fragile inches? And at the end of the journey, a bridge pitched straight up like a roller coaster will leave you breathless. Out here, danger doesn't wait at the finish line. It lurks in every single curve, every cracked sheet of ice, every precarious cliff edge. Our first journey takes us high into the Italian Alps, where a twisting ribbon of road hangs suspended at nearly 9,200 feet. Stelvio Pass, a twisting ribbon of concrete draped across the sky. A place where the line between life and death is barely half a handspan wide. 48 razor-sharp hairpin turns, stacked on top of each other like a massive, terrifying staircase. Steep, suffocating, heart-pounding with every single beat. The space around you seems to shrink. The road is incredibly narrow. Any sense of safety completely vanishes into thin air. When the weather shifts at this extreme altitude, everything changes. Just one sudden blizzard, and the road instantly turns into a sheer ice slide. It chokes out any desperate attempt to hit the brakes, leaving you entirely at the mercy of the mountain. If Stelvio Pass wasn't enough to make your head spin, let's head deep into Xinjiang, China. This is where a massive black dragon coils itself, lurking in the middle of nowhere. This is the Panlong Ancient Road. A brutal stretch draped across the majestic Pamir Mountains, sitting at an altitude of over 13,500 feet above sea level. Over 600 tightly folded curves, coiling, constricting. They form a dizzying visual maze designed to deceive your senses. Left, right, 180-degree spins. Relentless, never-ending. Your sense of direction is slowly stripped away right on the edge of the abyss. Conquering Panlong isn't just driving. It's a desperate battle to escape a mind-bending illusion where the deep chasm is always waiting to swallow the lost. leaving the dizzying curves behind. Our journey plunges straight into the harsh heart of Australia. Out here, absolute emptiness is your most terrifying enemy. The Canning Stock Route. It is easily one of the most desolate and isolated trails on the entire planet. 1,150 miles slicing through scorching, unforgiving deserts. The atmosphere grows suffocating as you face over 900 blazing sand dunes. Temperatures hitting 122 degrees Fahrenheit. No gas stations, no cell service. Completely devoid of life. Rescue teams are thousands of miles away. That means any minor mistake instantly morphs into an endless, inescapable nightmare. There are no sheer cliffs here. Instead, this route tests a driver's sheer resilience against the crushing, overwhelming vastness of nature. The next leg takes you to the Leh-Manali Highway in India. Extreme altitudes, thinning air, and ground that could collapse at any second. A treacherous strip draped across the mighty Himalayas. Stunningly beautiful, yet absolutely ruthless. At over 17,400 feet high, severe oxygen deprivation sets in. Dizziness and hallucinations relentlessly assault the driver's mind. Above, deadly rockfalls are waiting to crash down. Below, the remote wilderness is ready to completely isolate the convoy. Raging streams of glacial meltwater violently carve right across the road, flowing dangerously close to a bottomless abyss. A grueling journey. Every foot forward is a fierce tug of war. A battle between human willpower and the brutality of the roof of the world. The next landscape will push your fear to its breaking point on the most notorious death road on the planet. Meadows Road, Pakistan. A violently rugged, crudely carved path. Perched on a sheer cliff face at 10,800 feet high. Time freezes. The road is so narrow that the tires are just a few fragile inches from a deadly drop. No guardrails at all. Roaring jeeps crawl inch by agonizing inch over the crumbling dirt. Drivers hold their breath, aligning every fraction of an inch of the wheel. An utterly insane journey. The line between paradise and hell is so thin that you'll be praying through every second of the drive. But if you survive the terror, the reward is the fairy tale grasslands of Fairy Meadows, a lush haven where all storms seem to stop. Swerving into a frozen world where roads aren't made of dirt. They are woven entirely from frozen lakes. The Canadian ice roads. These temporary pathways exist for only a few short weeks. Slicing straight through the harsh wilderness of the far north. Plunged into a brutal minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Massive trucks weighing tens of tons are forced to carefully crawl across the fragile ice. Fear surges with every crack of the ice under the tires. The water pressure shifting beneath you with every foot forward. Just one slip of the pedal. A hydrostatic wave will rip the surface apart. Plunging everything into the freezing water. Danger is ever present, but these trucks must roll on. Behind that wheel are vital supplies for thousands. Lives that depend entirely on the ice season. Leaving the cold behind, we step onto the true staircase of death. The domain of the most infamous king in history. Yungas Road, Bolivia. The Death Road perched across the Andes. A place that once swallowed hundreds of lives every year. A mere 10 feet wide. One side, a razor-sharp cliff. The other, a 2,000-foot drop with no guardrails. Disaster waits at every turn. Watch vehicles crawl through blinding fog. Waterfalls crashing onto cars. The slippery ground ready to collapse at any moment. Even though a safer route exists, this old path remains a mecca for extreme adventure, reserved for those challenging death. Yungas Road might be the most famous, but coming up, there are roads that are even more brutal, steeper, narrower, with absolutely zero room for forgiveness. before we hit the high mountains, let's taste a completely different kind of fear. A road that literally vanishes beneath the ocean. The Passage du Gois. Located in France, this is a one-of-a-kind tidal causeway. It connects the island of Noirmoutier directly to the mainland. The bizarre part? It only reveals itself twice a day when the tide rolls out. Before being completely swallowed whole by the sea once again. The enemy here isn't a deep abyss, it's time itself. You are racing across the ocean's own territory. Miscalculate by just one beat, the sea will take your life. Beautiful, romantic, but utterly deceitful. This is a place where the ocean is ready to reclaim its path in the blink of an eye. Heart pounding. The journey plunges straight into a towering, precarious cliff face. Skipper's Canyon Road, New Zealand. A path crudely carved by hand back in the 19th century. Perched precariously high above the terrifying Shotover Canyon. An incredibly narrow gravel road, winding tightly along sheer slate cliffs. Completely devoid of any protective guardrails. The nightmare truly erupts when two vehicles meet face to face. Someone has to throw it in reverse. Riding the brakes for hundreds of feet right on the edge of a yawning chasm. A suffocating psychological test. A place where insurance companies flat out refuse to cover you. Easily one of the most ruthless roads in all of Oceania. Pushing into the American West, where the earth is ripped open by a trail cutting straight into blazing red sandstone cliffs. The Shafer Trail in Canyonlands National Park. A terrifying challenge stretching over 17 miles long. A place reserved strictly for four-wheel drive machines. And only the absolute coolest of heads. Steep, zigzagging switchbacks pitched sharply upward, crawling along the face of massive sandstone walls. Completely exposed and without a single protective guardrail in sight. Just one sudden thunderstorm. the road instantly turns into a treacherous mudslide, shattering the traction of even the most rugged vehicles. An arduous journey that has turned the Shafer Trail into an intense test of nerve. A place where any mistake will cost you dearly. The danger only escalates as we arrive at Cañon del Pato. A terrifying road carved straight through dark granite cliffs, running along a canyon so narrow and deep it will make you dizzy. You must plunge through 35 suffocatingly tight tunnels, crudely hollowed out deep into the very heart of the Rocky Mountain. Completely devoid of light and only just wide enough for a single vehicle to squeeze through. Right below the terrifying cliffs, the fierce Santa River churns violently, ready to swallow anyone who strays off the path. Pitch blackness, the echoing blare of car horns. A bottomless abyss. Cañon del Pato is easily one of the most terrifying psychological traps in all of South America. Arriving at Taroko Gorge in Taiwan, you will witness an absolutely stunning wonder. But one with a malicious intent, always waiting to bury any traveller. The road is carved directly into sheer vertical marble cliffs. Solid, unyielding, and bone-chillingly cold. Underground sections piercing through the mountain, curves so tight they barely allow a single car to pass. Hidden corners, blind spots, forcing drivers to strain their eyes and inch forward, inch by inch, under low-hanging rock arches. Sitting right on an active seismic belt. Sudden earthquakes can instantly trigger massive rockfalls crashing down from above. Even more terrifying, when the storms hit, waterfalls mutate into raging flash floods, washing away the road and completely cutting off any chance of escape. Leaving natural disasters behind, the journey pushes toward the untamed wild border. A steep, treacherous gravel pass. A place that tests the absolute limits of even the most rugged off-road machines. Sani Pass, a brutal route draped across the majestic Drakensberg Mountains. Climbing straight up to an altitude of 9,500 feet. It is so dangerous that the government strictly bans regular vehicles. Only true high-clearance 4x4s are even allowed to attempt the battle. Imagine your vehicle roaring at maximum capacity, inching up near vertical inclines with a terrifying gradient of over 30%. All while the tyres constantly slip and slide on the loose, crumbling gravel. But the height of Sani Pass is nothing. There is a road that rockets up to over 10,500 feet above sea level. Los Caracoles Pass, one of the most treacherous and breathtaking passes in South America. Los Caracoles features 29 terrifyingly sharp hairpin turns. Stacked tightly on top of each other like a giant spring dangling off the cliff face. The steep road zigzags relentlessly up the mountainside, pushing tension to the limit. Just one wrong turn and the vehicle will plunge straight into the abyss. Ice, snow, and thick fog blanket everything. The 29 curves instantly turn into a massive, inescapable slide. Defying death itself, this remains a vital artery for trade. Bustling with massive trucks straining under their own weight to conquer the pass. Past the spectacular curves of Los Caracoles. We finally face one of the absolute most dangerous routes in the entire world. Surpassing even the infamous Death Road of Bolivia. This is the D915 in Turkey, stretching about 65 miles. An insane strip of gravel and dirt draped across the rugged Pontic Mountains. The true danger of the D915 is concentrated at the Derabasha turns, featuring 29 steep, hairpin switchbacks. Some sections hit a brutal 17% gradient, completely exposed without a single guardrail. The terrain is ruthless. The gravel surface is incredibly slippery. Tyres constantly lose traction right on the very edge of the deep abyss. Thick fog from the Black Sea rolls in without warning, swallowing all visibility, leaving you on a haunting, completely blind journey. If the D915 was a test of gravel and dirt, Then Zojila Pass will plunge you straight into a muddy nightmare at 11,500 feet high. Narrow, rocky paths that turn to thick mud when the ice melts. Completely exposed without a single guardrail between your tyres and a drop of hundreds of feet. Crossing this, drivers have to inch forward bit by bit, tilting precariously on sinking ground battered by freezing, violent winds. Tyres constantly sliding along the edge of the sloppy mud. Sudden avalanches, slippery, treacherous ice. This pass is always ready to turn into a massive frozen trap, completely isolating the entire convoy. What if the road wasn't even on the ground? What if it was carved directly into the side of a sheer, vertical cliff face? Deep in the Taihang Mountains of China. The road leading to Lingbaishi village is a truly challenging, terrifying wonder. It is a mere 1,500 feet long, but it pitches upward at a staggering 40% incline. Violently twisted by 18 horrifying U-shaped curves. A suffocatingly narrow stone corridor. With incredibly low rock ceilings. Jagged stone pillars awkwardly blocking the path at every turn. Viewed from high above, the 18 curves fit tightly together like the teeth of a giant zipper. Crushed between two massive vertical blocks of solid stone. Cast your eyes up to the misty peaks of Hunan Province, China. Here, a concrete ribbon winds like a massive dragon flying straight up to Heaven's Gate. The heaven-linking avenue on Tianmen Mountain. One of the most spectacular mountain passes ever built. Challenging the absolute limits of drivers worldwide. The road is only about 7 miles long, but it is brutally broken up by exactly 99 hairpin turns. The vast majority of which are violently sharp 180-degree switchbacks. It looks just like a roller coaster track, suspended high up in the sky. At a breathtaking altitude, thick fog swallows all visibility. Winter ice transforms the steep concrete slopes into a deadly, inescapable slide. The journey takes a sharp turn to Eshima-Ohashi, a modern man-made wonder in Japan. A massive concrete bridge pitched so steep it looks like a roller coaster shooting straight into the sky. Eshima-Ohashi is a 1-mile concrete ribbon connecting Shimane and Tottori. Famous worldwide for its mind-bending optical illusion. Viewed from a distance, the bridge looks like a sheer vertical wall, sending shivers down every driver's spine before they hit the gas. But the real shock lies in the illusion. The actual incline isn't quite that insane. The camera angle is what twists it into absolute terror. The structure was actually built with a gradient of just over 6%. Just high enough to let massive cargo ships glide smoothly underneath. Pushing toward a bizarre ribbon of road in China, a place where the boundary between the highway and the bottom of the lake is completely erased. The Yongwu Road draped across Poyang Lake. Known as the most beautiful underwater road in the world. But it hides unpredictable, deadly traps. When flood season arrives, the rising water swallows the concrete surface, turning this place into a ribbon bobbing right in the middle of jade green waters. A totally surreal feeling. Driving across a giant mirror, flanked only by a fragile strip of guardrails poking up through the crashing waves. The flooded surface covered in thick, slippery moss and algae. Just one slight swerve and the car will sink straight to the bottom of the deep lake. As our journey ends, one truth is revealed. These roads don't just test your driving skills, they are a brutal measure of how small humanity truly is in the face of nature. Behind every deep abyss, every cracked sheet of ice, every hairpin turn, it's not just about fear, it's a stark reminder nature never, ever compromises. The most successful trip isn't about which treacherous road you manage to conquer. It's that you stayed sharp enough to make it back home safely. Will you choose to stay in your comfort zone? Or will you gamble your life to push your own absolute limit?